this is such an honor to be here. And for, gosh, how long has it been? 25 years? I have had the privilege of being Rebecca and Terry's friend. And Rebecca, who she is here, she's just the same behind the scenes. And she's been encouraging me to go for my dreams and nagging me when I don't do them. And I really will write that book, Rebecca. I'm sorry. And Devin talked about it too. Okay, I'll write it already. Anyway, Grace so graciously talked about a little bit of what I've done. Yeah, Jim and I were 27 years old when we launched Faith. Now, we weren't a church plant or anything like that. To give the context, Jim had just finished college. He was in the Titus Sermon Contest. It was a preaching contest. He didn't get number 1. He didn't get number 2. He didn't even place at all. My dad was going in the newspaper and clipping out clippings on people who stuttered and how they could overcome their stuttering. So in the natural, I was a grocery checker. Jim was working earning a little extra money at his dad's gas station, making $1.65 an hour, okay? So if you look at yourself and you don't look real impressive, hey, join the crowd, okay? One thing I realized, if we're walking on water, it doesn't matter if it's a couple of inches or a couple of miles. If you're believing for a couple $100 or a couple $100,000, God's going to be there for you. And so if you step out in your dreams, He is going to manifest it. Well, Jim and I, that first Sunday, we knew that there'd be about 10 people. And I can't see. Oops. They gave me a little clicker. Okay, this is, all right. That's it. All righty. And actually, that's even a couple years later when Jeff, but I didn't want to show you one without Jeff. We're not real impressive in the natural, but God used us because no matter what your dream is, and Devin talked about it so eloquently, step out and do something. So I don't know how to turn that off, by the way. So after I get done, you can turn off the thing until the next one. They didn't give me an off button on here. So we were able to buy in Southern California a 21-acre former Hughes facility, and renovated that. So that's a little intimidating because if you're a church plant, then you get people that come along with you, they get finances, you can borrow stuff, but we never had to do that. So I want to encourage you, don't let finances keep you away from your dream. Surround yourself with people that are going to talk to you and be there to really build you up. But your dream, we had a dream of having a church that moved powerfully in the Holy Spirit, where you could be prayed for to actually get healed, but at the same time was firmly grounded in the Word. But at the same time, too, we wanted our family. I didn't want to gain the whole world and lose my own family. We have 3 adult kids now, 35, 37, 39-year-old. They're married now, with a boatload of grandkids, all the way from 6 years to 6. I have a 6'5", 16-and-a-half-year-old. And I want to let you know proudly, I am 64. It is okay to get older. I've got some more wrinkles, but I've also got some more wisdom. So come on, stop getting mad about getting older. It's okay. We can have fun when we're getting older. And if we do things God's way, like we just went and our family, all 15 of us went to Hawaii. Jim and I took them. And that's not where it is? Okay, all righty. Nope. There. Okay, I didn't want to show you the Hawaii pictures because we're all our hair sticking up and, because we went zip lining, we went on boats. We just had fun as a family. I want you, and I know it's really Rebecca and Terry's dream too, that you're not just going to get your dream, but you're going to end up there with integrity, with your character intact, with relationships, friendships, and family that are going to be there for you. You're not going to just be disappearing. You can turn that off. But if very early in my life, before I wasn't raised a Christian. My mom's German, my dad's Jewish, and they met at the Nuremberg war trials. And if that doesn't sound like a crazy thing, it was World War III at my house all the time. And out of my deepest pain, I can remember being a little kid and trying to go to sleep, and I would have the pillow over my head and just trying to drown out their arguing and fighting. And sometimes out of our deepest pain comes our deepest passion. So I have a passion for seeing marriage work. I mean, my mom was married 3 times, wasn't happy with any of them. And so I somehow had this dream that I could have a happy marriage. And I have a dream, too, that anyone who wants to be married, okay, let me just say for all the single people in here, being single is not a disease and marriage is not the cure, okay? All right, so let me just get that out of the way. So if I talk from a standpoint of being married, it's just, hey, the principles I'm sharing, if you're not married, take those same principles. They work in about all the other relationships in your business and stuff. So got it? Got it. So before I was even a Christian, I would go visit Germany with my mom, and my mom's side of the family has some extremely, extremely wealthy people on it. My grandpa's sister and her husband, they're so wealthy that a couple of years ago she died when she was 102. And remember, this is my mother's aunt. This is pretty far removed, and she still left me an inheritance of 6 figures, okay? So that's the kind of people I was visiting on that side of the family. And so when I was there, most people were speaking German. It's Germany. So my mom's cousin was one of the few guys that spoke English, so I would hang around with him and go to all the corporate meetings and things like that. And I saw him, this guy, best way I could describe him, he looked like Pierce Bronson, He just would step up and debonair, and every time I'd see him at a restaurant, he'd have a different, kind of like 007, he'd have a different Playboy-looking girl with him. I went to his apartment with my parents, and he showed us around in his bedroom. Literally, above the bed was a mirror, and you go in the bathroom. He's not just a playboy, but he's a show-off playboy. I mean, he's got 10 toothbrushes with a different girl's name on each one of them, okay? But yet, he's got money, he's got wealth, he's got power. He had everything. He committed suicide. So even as a young girl, I realized money ain't it, power, fame. So I knew that when I was going after my dreams, I wanted to be able to do things that would be really building other people up. And yeah, I mean, wealth management is important. It takes money to do things. But the money, and it has been so much of a thread with every speaker here, the money is not an end in itself. The money is to do and to be giving to others. Amen? All right, but if I talked just there, I mean, I could tell you, all the things. A couple of years ago, Jim, the kids actually said, Mom, you don't have a hobby. I think they were, since Kiana was talking a little bit about family and business, and so since we're all in the ministry together and we all work together, I think they were tired of Mom talking about work all the time sometimes. So they said, Mom, you need a hobby. And so I said, okay, and I think they were thinking something like bowling or maybe, taking walks. So I decided I'd do some investment. And so I took the stuff that my relative had given me, and my dad by then had passed away, and I found out I'm pretty good. And I was really good with investing. And Jim says, my hobbies make us money, his golfing costs us money. So if we talk about successes, it's a little bit like that iceberg. You just talk about that little bit above, but there's a whole lot of stuff underneath. So many things that there's a lot of hell you go through. And sometimes when we're talking and we're excited about going through the dreams, I just want you to appreciate and get ready for the work. But the work is worth it, okay? Over the years, I've gone through multi-million-dollar lawsuits, had people I loved and trusted stab me in the back, former staff to lies, gone through teething toddlers that made me feel like I was in a sleep deprivation experiment, grouchy teenagers, you name it, okay. And then, when I was 45, so maybe that was 19 years ago or so, my dad was in the hospital because he had kidney failure and he was going through dialysis. And just how sudden out of the blue, we're talking and there was kind of a silence and he goes, I've always wondered if you were really my daughter. Would you mind taking a DNA test? Yeah, right, talk about getting your world rocked. And I go, Dad, Grandma Tilly, my grandma, cute little Polish, Russian immigrant, came over to America when she was 14 years old. She came and didn't have anybody here, stayed with people from the old country that were living in New York, worked hard, got some money, worked into industry, in the fashion industry, probably sewing or something, made enough money to bring her mom back, her dad over to America, all her brothers and sisters. Only one relative decided, no, I'm going to stay there. And they and their whole family died in the concentration camps. She's a little tiger. But my grandma Tilly had the most deep-set eyes in the world. I've got grandma's eyes. I've got no upper lip. I crayon an N above with, I have. So I said, Dad, I've got Grandma Tilly's, sunken eyes. I'm yours. But I could tell he really meant it because remember my dad's Jewish, and he goes, I'll pay for it. Dad was serious. And maybe they have things now, but that took about 6 weeks. Little did I know, in that 6 weeks, it was a time that I really had to grapple with who I am. Was my dad, my dad's a nice guy, but maybe my birth dad, maybe he's a serial killer. You go through weird things. And then I finally figured out, no, my daddy is in heaven. And so no matter who my earthly daddy is, no matter what stuff has gone on, I've got his DNA. So, yeah. And so I don't leave you hanging. Yeah, it was, I really was it was like 99.999%. And what's really interesting to me, just a little side note, and before I came up, God really prompted me, so there's someone particularly here that needs to hear this, is that I was always this exuberant little girl, and I'd run up to my dad. Now, you remember my dad kind of came from the Russian side of, Polish, Russian, didn't know how to grab a little girl and just squeeze her and say, I love you. He showed his love by going to work every day. He showed by paying the bills. He didn't know how to show it in the ways that, as a little girl, I wanted to. And I realized that my daddy loved me so much that he didn't even bring up the possibility that I wasn't his till, I think he knew he was probably on his deathbed. He died 2 weeks after we found out. And I think there's somebody here. You've been trying to go in your whole life, you've been going for a daddy's love. And maybe your dad's dead, earthly dad, and maybe you never knew him, or there's a lot of things, but you have a heavenly daddy that wants to scoop you up and say, daughter, I love you, son, I love you, and no matter what you have ever done or said or thought, that there's nothing that can separate my love, from you. So just, anyway, from whatever that's worth, somebody needed to hear that. Okay. So, how do you navigate through life pursuing your dreams while at the same time dealing with stuff? Okay, let's see what this is going to come up with now. Nope. If I keep on going, you're going to get all of them eventually. There's some really, no. Yep, there. Nope. Okay, I'm not going to do this. It's going to take too long, but there were some really good slides there, okay? Just trust me on that one. All right. So basically it said, my mother said to follow your dreams, so I went back to bed, okay? There's so many of us, use Waze now in Southern Cal because we want to navigate. We want to go from here to there, and there's all this traffic, and we want to go. We find out from other people who have gone on the way we're going to go. We want to find out how to do that, how to verify trouble spots, give ways to avoid them, and we gain insights so we can plan smarter and find the best way to our destinations. Okay, so number one, all right, begin with the end in mind. I mean, for me, I'll talk about marriage then. Again, use the same principles. They apply to other stuff. Jim and I were 20 years old when we got married. We were walking through a shop one time. We saw a picture, and there's this old couple there, and they were wrinkly, and they were sitting on this park bench, and there was a little kid on the floor. At that time, I thought it was probably their grandkid. The older I get, I realize this must have been a great-great-grandkid because they're so wrinkly. I like the vision. I'm going to change the picture to take out some of the wrinkles. But on this picture, this painting, what was amazing, and to this day now, 44 years later, Jim and I can both describe this. It made such an impact on us. There was their eyes. They were in love. You can tell there was a tenderness as that they were holding hands, but somehow that they had captured all this in the painting, that what had happened too, you can see that they had taken so much care of their kids that their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren wanted to be around them. So that was my vision. Since I didn't grow up, obviously, with seeing this model before me, okay, if I be a little practical here, because we want you to go for your visions, but we want to have you go intact with your relationships, okay? Some of the things practically that we did, and if you're single, you can do these too. If you're married, if you haven't started that, figure it out now. But we tried to do a weekly date night. So now the kids are grown. I mean, people say, what is it like to have an empty nest? It's a blast. It is so fun. Grandkids come, hug them, then I throw them back, and Jim and I, Grandma's still chasing Grandpa. I mean, and by the way, this was some of the rules for our date night. You figure it out, I didn't talk shop. I didn't talk about how the refrigerator broke down or that I was mad at this person. I figured out fun stuff to tell about the kids or later on the grandkids. I remember one time telling Jim how Judah, who's now quite a bit older, he's a little guy, he told his mom, I'm yucky. And his mom was going, no, you're not yucky, you're one. And she started talking about self-image. And he goes, no, I'm yucky, I have such a nice family. He just couldn't say his L's to say lucky, And to this day, Jim and I still will tease and say, I'm yucky. We know it's one of those things that you laugh about as a family. But if we are always, when we finally get a chance to be with our spouse, if we're always dumping on them, they're not going to want to be with us. Hey, look it. Any single gal or guy that's here, if you have this hot date, you're not going to tell them all about how your dishwasher is broken. Hello. You're going to look in their eyes and do your best to flirt with them. So I did my best to flirt with him, and Jim knew that at least our date night was every Monday for a long time. And Monday, I was a sure thing, okay? That's it. We've gotten to 44 years, people are finally asking, what's the secret? They're asking a secret to a happy marriage, and there's no secret. I'm telling you principles now. And so on one talk show, it was a radio talk show, they asked us just on the spot, what's your most romantic memory in all the years? And you know what I described? We were in Hawaii, and we were just taking a walk along the beach, and we heard some music, and it was some corporate function that had, just gotten a band, and they were all out there, and people were sitting around tables dancing. And I told Jim, you know what that music reminds me of? Because we're the same age. And I said, that reminds me of being in junior high. And nobody asked me to dance. I just sat there. I stood there at the dance. And then, without skipping a beat, Jim looked at me. He said, shall we dance? And underneath the moonlight, we just danced. Now, that's not his most romantic, okay? All right, I don't know. When we get to heaven, we can tell God that he made a mistake, that we don't think that men should have put sex as such a high priority in, marriage relationship, but we can argue that. But reality is that's how God designed most men. I mean, what Jim described was too X-rated right now to describe. And that was probably from about 25 years ago, and he's still remembering it, okay? It's still memorable. So wives, we have the opportunity to make memories with our husbands, okay? And singles, when God, if you so desire, when God brings the right guy, remember to cherish him. And because I can't tell you how many people I talk to, I want the right person, I want the right person, and then they get the right person, and they start complaining all about the things they do. I can tell you a lot. One time a gal told me, my husband, I can't tell you, it's just terrible. I said, what is he doing? It's terrible. I said, what's he wants his shirts ironed every morning. I go, yeah, that is terrible. But I can tell you a whole lot of widows that would give anything to iron their husband's shirts. Okay, so begin with the end in mind. We had a weekly family night, and it's so much fun that now the kids are married. I mean, it's hard to do in a weekly time, but we still do monthly, at least with our grown kids. When the kids were at home, we would, I know this is hard to remember. This is before DVRs. This is before even VCRs. We would actually have to time things on the TV. There'd be a family show. We'd bake chocolate chip cookies, and then we'd have the chocolate chip cookies come out of the oven, and we'd all snuggle on the couch. I know this sounds like Pollyanna, but we really did it. And it took a lot of time and energy to plan all this. There wasn't cell phones, but we actually unplugged our phones so that we wouldn't even hear it going to the answer machine. I can't tell you how many people I know, they'll be having fun together as a family, and half the fun time they spend on, social media telling how much fun they're having. And the kids are going, okay, and pretty soon they're going to be doing the same things to mom and dad. Take a time as much as you can, and things happen, but to really spend time as a family, talk, laugh. We just took, like I said, our whole downline to Hawaii, and they got after each other. If anyone got out some phones, they would point it out, because we could talk, we could laugh. We played stupid card games. We played heads up, things that there's a lot of things you can do as a family. It doesn't take a lot of money. It does take an investment of time and energy and the effort. And if you can say, yeah, but my husband or this person should be putting the time and effort, okay, you can use all the excuses you want, but if you want it to happen, I was really the one that drove it. I would like to say my husband, the pastor, did, but no. I did, okay? So get over it. And just a little bit on that, what I've seen with Jim and with a lot of men is that with each decade of his life, he's become a better man, a better husband, a better father. So, just give them some time to grow, okay? They're not as perfect as we are, right? No, that's just a joke, okay? A couple of things real fast that we did as well. And we made a choice to not be in the same room alone with a member of the opposite sex. And really, it does a couple of things. Temptation goes out the window when you do that. If I meet with a lot of men and a lot of staff, I make sure that there's another staff member there, or sometimes, worst case, I'll open up the door and we'll prop it open if it's just It's just a culture now, not just for us, but for all our staff. A pastor we know, I'm trying to say this without saying too many details to give it the person away, but he lost his home ministry because he was basically set up. And yes, he made some stupid choices, but there are people out there that are going to try to get you. And, or they're just idiots and they're going to lie for no other, not even financial gain. But this particular pastor, someone contacted him on Facebook, went to high school with him, said, hey, can I come on over? Met with him in his office. She was aggressive with him, started kissing him, and he kissed back, okay? And then later on, she asked for money. She basically blackmailed him, and he lost his job, okay? Now, you may not have a profession where that occurs, but I'm just telling you, and I'm warning you, not only temptation, and that goes for emailing or even texting. I try to be real appropriate. Occasionally, I'll text Terry about something, and I usually try to include Rebecca, in that. And I try to put it in a situation so she goes, what in the world am I getting this text for? So, I'll just say, hey, Terry, just wanted to let you know, Jim and I are just so proud of you and just thank you for whatever. But I'm doing that in the context of having Rebecca as I just think that's appropriate. Think of how, if you think about it this way, there wouldn't be any married guys having affairs if none of the girls would go after the married guys. All right? So you watch out, put boundaries on yourself, and do as much within your power to do that. Okay? All right, so I'm just going to tell you a couple of things just real fast, okay? Are you being faithful not to flirt or text or watch out even on interacting on social media? A lifetime of trust can be eroded with one careless act. Are you being faithful in having fun with one another? You taking a walk on the beach, talking, laughing are free, but are priceless in building a love that lasts a lifetime. Are you being faithful in encouraging one another, speaking nice to and of to each other, building each other up, and not interrupting? Pouting, rolling your eyes, slamming doors are not effective means of communication. All right? I remember particularly one time when we were brand new marrieds. I don't even know what I was mad about, but we had a one-bedroom apartment. So, I mean, either you were in the kitchen family room or you were in the bedroom. I mean, it just took 2 steps to get there, So to let him know how mad I was, I can remember I slammed the door and I threw myself on the bed crying. Okay. All right. Every gal here knows what I wanted. And yell it at me. Yeah, I wanted him to come in and hug me. Hello, it's just real obvious. But Jim, being a guy, thought, oh, she needs a little space. So he was trying to give me a little space, and it's like, the more space he gave me, the madder I got. And so that's not a real good means of communication. Let me just tell all you wazers out there, that's not the way to go. There are better ways of letting people know. And if you think you can't control yourself, have you ever seen someone arguing and yelling, and then the phone rings and they go, hello? You do have control. And not only that, I want to encourage you, don't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. You get mad, and the next thing you know is, well, I want to get a divorce, and then we bring up everything that they have done wrong in the last, 20 years. We've been saving it up, and I don't know why we do that as gals, but we do. All right? Yes, there's an appropriate time to talk about problems, but that's not it. Don't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. And are you faithful in making what's important to them important to you? Jim loves golf. It's kind of like Bubba Gump shrimp, shrimp cocktail, shrimp gumbo, shrimp, we have golf on TV. Golf is all year. We go to the Roger Dunn golf shop. He goes, I drive the cart with, but I try to make, I haven't taken the time to go and learn how to golf myself. There's a lot of other things I'd like to be doing, but occasionally but I give him the freedom, and I appreciate and I encourage him on that. I'll go, like if we're in Hawaii, I'll drive the cart and we'll just go around and have just lots of fun in the beautiful, and I'll videotape him, and afterwards we'll both look at all the things. Oh, I'm so glad you took my picture, hon, you know. And so I can learn how, so those are things that he loves. And when we're dating, we go and we appreciate that, but when the older we get, oops, that's to say 30 minutes have gone by. And so lastly, but definitely not least, are you faithful at forgiving? A happy marriage is the union of two good forgivers. Amen?